what happened here. So we've come back at 9 o'clock after you had a brief conversation around the things happening in India and how their elections are carried out. We're having those conversations as we get into the next, 6 months. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We continue with our conversations this morning when I ask you, life comes in stages. There are certain things you do, your first job, your first investment, maybe even your first child. Then one day you're thinking about retirement and the kind of legacy you want to leave behind. Wherever you are in life, ICEA has a plan for you. From saving in a money market fund to securing your family's future with insurance. Because planning ahead isn't just for some, it's for everyone. ICEA Lion is helping you protect, grow, and plan for life's every stage. So what you need to do is get in touch with the folks at ICEA Lion and figure out the plan. If you have a plan, talk to them and watch them help you bring it to life. So that's what you need to do as concerns your plan this morning. All right. So we then are going to look, like we said yesterday, and then also earlier this morning, we're going to look around the continent and we're going to take a Pan-African view towards this conversation, but also things happening just to the southeast of Kenya. And to help us in that conversation this morning, it's Ahmed Hashi, who's a foreign policy expert and joins us this morning. Hashi, good morning.
Man, am I happy to be back here again.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, I have the most fun here, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
I was on another station yesterday, and I predicted everything that happened in Tanzania.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that forms the basis of the first part of our conversation today.
What's going to happen is that in a year or two, I think I'm not going to be able to predict anything anymore. I think God has given me enough predictions.
That have come true.
If I continue like this... people are going to start saying this guy's a witch doctor.
Well, then maybe what I can get you to do is interpret our proverb first of all.
Okay.
Before we start looking into your predictions. So it's you and I. We're going to hit this thing running today.
Wonderful.
So we'll interrogate some of these things together and have a conversation. Of course, there are folks who are tuning in. And if you're just getting in, our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X, our audience on KTN. And everybody tune around the country, the region, and indeed the world. This is the Situation Room. Our proverbs this week are from Sao Tome and Principe.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to say the proverb in French because it's there in French, and then it's also in Portuguese. But okay, let's just do it in English. He who does not work does not eat. Hashi.
I know about that.
You do know about that?
Yes.
Not eating and not working?
At the time in college, I didn't go to a part-time shop. And they sent me, I think, a few shillings check. And I wouldn't eat, but I think that there's a deeper meaning to that. I think that, Sao Tome and Principe are islands, right?
Yes.
People don't know much about that place. It's part of the African Union, and it's in Africa.
It is.
And I don't think they have such fertile land there. I think they're ocean-washed. So, unless they have volcanic ash in their land, it means that their soil is not very fertile, and therefore people have to wake up early and go and get their yams. Yams is a staple on that side of the world.
Yes.
So I think basically it means that if you want to do well, you have to get up in the morning and do your best. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's look around the continent, shall we? And then we're probably going to land to the place where you made some predictions about. Whether we look into West Africa, just a few days ago, Paul Biya was elected for his 8th consecutive term. Okay, the man didn't campaign because physically he's not able to, and so he's going to serve Cameroonians for another term. Yesterday, Cameroonians went to the street and they said, no, this is ridiculous. This cannot be. First of all, it was a sham election. There was election rigging, and we cannot allow that to be. So as we speak, Cameroonians doing the thing. We've got neighboring country, Nigeria. Bola Tinubu is president of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And there's already talks about, okay, this is maybe a little bit too burdensome for him to handle this. Can we try and move on? Côte d'Ivoire, then moving a little further west. Ouattara was then elected for yet another term. He's well in his 80s. All right. So let's come down south, where Peter Mutharika has been re-elected in Malawi after Mr. Chakwera lost the election and said, okay, this is what you want, Malawians? I'll go home. Mutharika comes back. He's in his 80s as well. Museveni, just here in Uganda, is 83. He is running in this election that they will go to the ballot in 2027. This is the story of the continent. Now, while all of that is happening, there's the age factor that we can look into. But then let's look over into Tanzania, where yesterday, Tanzanians, in some part, went to the polls. And others did not, because they said that this was going to be a sham election. And we saw many things happening in cities across Tanzania, from Moshi to Dodoma to Dar es Salaam to Arusha. People said, no, we will not vote, and neither will you. But power lines were shut down. Technology lines shut down. Nobody can get in or out. International media denied access to the country. The internet shut down so that nobody can communicate. This is not just something that happens out of the blue. It happens because it's a directive of government to say that, okay, let's contain the issue. Actually, what do we see happening in the continent? Let's start with Tanzania and then look out.
Our doubts are often our traitors, our doubts. And they make us not attempt to change things. I'm paraphrasing this Shakespeare line from measure for measure, measure to measure, from measure to measure. And I think that I'm extremely optimistic. I'm not pessimistic at all.
Okay.
I think we're on the cusp of profound change. Let me try and explain that. If we can say that we in Africa got into the modern period, say in the 17th and 18th century, and this was a dark time for us. And then in the 18th century and the 19th century was another stage of dark time for Africa because of colonialism and all these things. And then we got independence. Now there's a turning point, what I call a turning point. Harold Macmillan gave a speech in Pretoria in 1960 and said, Africa is going to be free. Africa is going to be independent. We formed the African Union so that we could liberate every country in Africa, and we did. The reason for this union, all this thing, was to stamp out colonialism. So that's our turning point. We did with South Africa. After South Africa, there was not one country that was... Then the Cold War came in, ended. Another turning point. So all the dictators were either the Soviet Union or in the US, withered away. Then the Western countries, in cooperation with Thabo Mbeki, and a lot of people said there's going to be a renaissance in this Africa. Remember that? So the leaders of Africa, so I can call them the rulers of Africa, decided, look, we're going to win through the Electoral Commission. So we're going to get the Electoral Commission stacked with our people, and when they count the vote, they're going to call us to be the winners. So this is how they dealt with the opening or the end of the Cold War. They decided that they were going to use the Electoral Commission to stay in charge, and they did that. But in many countries, they did not. In Mobutu, they were overthrown in Mobutu in Zaire, which is now DRC. Botswana is doing well. Namibia is doing well. South Africa is doing well. If you go up to the countries of Africa, there's about 10 or 15 in that basket that are still giving us a bad name. So one is Cameroon. So Cameroon is named after is a shrimp. It's a word for shrimp. It's the Portuguese word for shrimp. You should just look it up. Look it up now. And first thing, they need to change their name.
First of all.
Yeah. Call the shrimp in their own language. The second thing that Cameroon needs to do is to stop fighting over whether they should speak English or French. We're forced to speak this language. We don't want them. We know that English is now the global capital. We have no choice about that because English has become a hegemon. There's really nothing we can do about it. It's become the lingua franca of the world now. If you go to Paris, they ask you whether you speak English.
True.
Now, what is happening in Tanzania, and I predicted this in another station yesterday, it's the same thing that is happening across Africa. You see, for our viewers and our listeners, 85% of the people of Africa are under 25.
True.
We're nearly 2 billion now. They're on the technology. Right now, someone in Benin is watching this show through his phone.
Yeah.
Information, as you know, is power. These kids have seen that getting on a ship and crossing the Mediterranean and sinking there is slowly becoming not being an option. So they're asking themselves, what shall we do here? And the only thing that is open for them is revolution. The only thing is open for them is coup d'etats. Because even when they want to elect the people whom they want to serve them, so they can make things work, those people become puppets of powers in the world. So I'll give you a very simple example so that our viewers can understand. Niger has uranium.
Yes, it does.
Okay. It sends uranium to France. That's
almost all of it.
Yeah. They get paid $100 million a year, euros. The French process it into nuclear energy and sell it for 100 billion pounds to all of Europe. The reason why there's protests in Paris is because the people who benefited from that money are on the street and are jobless, or they've been thrown out. The economic model of France in West Africa is imperialism. Period. The Germans have nothing to do with us. They're the biggest economy in Europe. They're innovative, they make cars, they do this, they do that. They come here, they buy things at the market rate, and they go fix what they want to fix. France doesn't do that. England, yesterday, Mr. Thuge, or the other week, said that he wanted to take Kenya's gold reserves to the Bank of England.
Because?
Because he hasn't read Black Faces, White Masks. Nor has he read Ngugi wa Thiong'o's Decolonizing the Mind.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Thuge is just so compromised that he doesn't know what to do or what to say. I would fire him in the morning. Why would you want to take our precious metal to a bank in England? I think that's treachery. So these kinds of things are what the young people in this country, in the region, don't want. Ms. Saleh Suluhu, a hijabi Muslim woman from a small village in Tanzania who had no hope of ever being president of Tanzania, who was absolutely ignored as the deputy president. She was given no work. She was at her office. She did nothing. Magufuli went around the country fighting corruption, etc. Everybody in Africa thinks that Magufuli was assassinated. Nobody has any evidence. But every time there's a leader who's trying to do something, Magafuli's got his problem. He was locking people up because he wanted to do what he wanted to do. But it's not excusable. But he was fighting corruption in such a tremendous way that he chased the IMF out of Tanzania.
He did, and started to insist on proper governance.
Yes,
on whatever level.
Now I am a Muslim like Ms. Sulu, but our faith, our personal issue, has nothing to do with her practice as the president of Tanzania.
What is this practice, Hashi? Because it seems as though there's speculation. There's what people know to be true. We have seen over the last couple of years that the disappearances of individuals in Tanzania has increased.
Yes.
Journalists don't have freedoms. Yes. The most glaring example is Tundu Lissu, who opened his mouth and said, let's see reforms in electoral processes in Tanzania. And he's been locked up for a year.
I was interviewed yesterday in this other station. And I said exactly the same things you're saying. And I firmly believe that Chama cha Mapinduzi would have won that election anyway without doing this. Because they're the most organized. Tanzania and Chama cha Mapinduzi are the same thing. It's like the It's like the Communist Party and the Soviet Union. It was the same thing. You could say the Communist Party or the Soviet Union is the same thing.
Yeah.
So Chama cha Mapinduzi and Tanzania are the same thing. So
in fact, other parties have to come and ask CCM if they can be part of the party.
Exactly.
Right?
Now, so I think that the people of Tanzania have woken up.
Have they?
Yes.
Let's look at the times of Julius Nyerere, where he essentially preached an African breed of socialism and said, you know what, we must come together, Ujamaa. We must come together, and this is how we must work together. We must then fight for the economy. We must preserve our culture, all of these things. And it was as though the people of Tanzania were shepherded into an ideology. But now, it's very clear. In fact, the chagrin for many is that Tanzanians could actually be in the street, fighting, and saying absolutely no to this thing. And Tundu Lissu perhaps was very intelligent by saying that, yes, you've acquitted me of all these charges, but I'm going to remain here until after the 29th, because all of these protests would have been easily pinned on the man had he agreed to come out. But there's something very glaring about this, that the people of Tanzania, in a manner that was unprecedented, that they have never done before, have come out to say, we demand 1, 2, 3, and you must listen. Is there a window for a break free from this previously
really,
shepherded kind of thing?
No, it's really tragic, but we must push on and we must continue to struggle against the three things: stupidity, idiocy, and being too comfortable with power. And I think that the leadership in Tanzania is failing that great country. Tanzania is a great country. Its people are a great country. And I think that Ms. Suluhu, Madam Suluhu, who came from the roots of a constitutional transfer of power, should have stuck to becoming a transformative leader and bringing in a new katiba in Tanzania and making sure that the rights of the people of Tanzania are secured. The people of Tanzania would have elected her in a landslide. But this thing called the Chama cha Mapinduzi is an authoritarian political party.
Is she an authoritarian, or is the party an authoritarian and she's an agent of the party?
She wasn't an authoritarian before. She became an authoritarian when she sat on that seat. It takes a great conscience to get everybody who comes through that door and tell them, no, I'm in charge, I'm the president. We're not going to have it. There's going to be a different team. It takes a great conscience and great courage to fire people who believe in those things and bring in reformers into your government. It takes great courage to do all the kinds of things that you need to make sure that the political economy of that country is transformed. If Madam Suluhu had said that my job, I'm here by luck, and the constitution was followed, I'm going to fix the constitution and leave a katiba for the people of Tanzania so that never, ever again will the rights of anybody in this country be infringed. I think that she would have been a hero in our continent. But of course, it takes great leaders and a great amount of luck for there to be leaders, and there has to be luck, and there has to be certain circumstances for all those things to come together for you to be in that seat to then do those things. I think that Ms. Suluhu is going to be overthrown by the CCM after a few months, 6 months. You'll hear she was not feeling well, she's retiring or something.
Why?
Because she's become a liability. It is the CCM who told her to do this. It's not her.
So she's not a dictator?
She's a puppet of the party. She has power, but without the party, she's nothing. She can't rule Tanzania as a president only. She has to have the Chama cha Mapinduzi, because you see, in every 10 houses, there's Chama Mapinduzi. If you have an ice cream on the streets in Dodoma, they will send a message to the party headquarters. It's like that book, 1985. It's the best book in the world. So I think Tanzania needs a transformation. It's one of the richest countries in the world. It has a lot of mineral deposits. The people there, you see, their social formations. The one thing that we can't touch Tanzania about is this social formation that is Tanzanian. Nobody is attacking Samia Suluhu because of her ethnicity from Zanzibar. Nobody is attacking her because she's a woman. Nobody is attacking her because she's a Muslim. Nobody is attacking her because of her ethnic roots. People are attacking her because of her political ideology. Where does that happen in Africa? Here in Kenya, we attack William Ruto because we are Kikuyus, because we are Luyas, because we are this. But like that, that's our ideology, tribalism. In Tanzania, there is no, sisi Wachaga tumesema hivi, no. They disagree with her ideology. They're saying you're a dictator who is not helping this country.
Before that, there was, so what was saying, I mean, look at it, from Julius Nyerere to Jakaya Kikwete to Mkapa, all of these gentlemen, we didn't see, even Magufuli, we didn't see protests in the streets, even under
Magufuli.
Magufuli.
Good question. It is
Why
not,
did we see it
is not
now?
because she's a Muslim.
Yeah.
It's not. That's not the issue. If you hear someone saying that, it's an obfuscation of the political realities. We're not protesting against William Ruto because he's a Kalenjin. No. We're opposed to him because of the tax bill, because of what he's doing to the country. That's why we're opposed to him.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a Cushitic. He's a Nilo Cushitic. So we're closer to each other. But I'm the only guy in my community who says no. No. Now, I think that, I think we should explore this question that you brought up, because this is a very serious question. Why are people opposed to Mama Suluhu while they took all the other guys and accepted the same iron-fisted rule? That's because, the opposition contested the election and no one put them in jail. Magufuli
did not put anybody in jail because, well, look, Tundu Lissu would tell you differently.
They ran here.
Tundu Lissu was shot 17 times in Nairobi, by whom
but
he
guess
says...
what? The Tanzanian population was with Magufuli because he was doing the right thing. He was fighting corruption. He was fighting those people who were screwing, if I could, for lack of a better word, international companies that were screwing Tanzania. I think that we ought to be able to have a decent conversation on Tanzania without dragging in the issues of Zanzibar and the union between the two, which is the tension. The religious issue which they have solved,
which is
because one gets 2 terms and the other one gets 2 terms. So right now, I think Ms. Suluhu is saying, this is my 5 years. Why are these people trying to?
But is she saying that? She's not saying that.
I don't say that verbally.
I get it, but and I understand that.
She's not saying that verbally.
I get it.
But there's an unconventional rule in Tanzania that you guys do this, we do this, like this, and this is the rule. But that convention is being challenged now.
It's being challenged by the people, for sure.
Yeah.
But look at the things that we're saying, and we say that usually you can say something without actually ever having opened your mouth. People are abducted.
It's appalling.
What's happening in Tanzania makes what's happening in Kenya look like child's play.
Yep.
That people will open their mouths and before dusk they have disappeared. There are people who are journalists who are afraid to pen a word. There are priests who stand on the pulpit and say something and by evening service they are gone.
Yep.
There are people who have never been seen again after they've said certain things. I mean, I shudder to think about the people who were arrested yesterday during the protest and what is going to happen to them as a result of the fact that they were caught protesting. So there are many things that are being said without a mouth being opened. And could that be the reason why Tanzanians have said enough is enough? And mind you, Hashi, it's a very short period of time. Remember, she was not elected president. She took over because she was vice president.
Now let me tell you what she said yesterday. Baada ya huu uchaguzi, najua nimeauhakika wenzangu mnichague tena. Nimeauhakika. I've asked you. Nataka niwaambieni waliovuruga amani na kuiga tabia za Wakenya kuwa nitawatafuta na nitawapata. Mna mengi ya kujibu. Lazima mtajua huku si Kenya.
She repeated herself.
So she's saying, the election is going to get over. We're going to calm down, and I'm going to look I'm going to find you and I'm going to prosecute you. And I'm going to teach you that this is not Kenya. What do you expect from someone who speaks in that language? Is that leadership? It's not. Listen, a dictatorship can have a religion, it can have an ethnic group, it can have a dress, it can eat a certain type of food, it can drink soup with cola nuts. If it walks like a dictator, talks like a dictator, it is a dictatorship. And that is my political economy. That's what I look for. What is it? What is the nature of the thing? And when I see that it is like that, that is when I oppose it. And I oppose in the strongest terms the situation in Tanzania, because we're East Africans and we're going to become one country, inshallah. And I firmly believe that if we in Kenya don't support the movement for basic political rights enshrined in a new constitution. There is a constitution that has been written in Tanzania, but it's not being voted on. There's no plebiscite, and the opposition is not being allowed to participate in the process. It's not being allowed to participate in the elections. Then they put a list of 17 parties which are being funded by the government that are running for the election to say this is our democratic credentials. We reject that and we oppose it.
You said that Samia Suluhu is not acting on her own right, but that she's acting, or rather performing to the whims of Chama cha Mapinduzi. That means that there's some powerful folk who are essentially running the thing.
Yes.
So that's not the voice of Tanzania then?
So the voice of Tanzania is Chama. You see, let's not gainsay the Chama cha Mapinduzi. The Chama Mapinduzi was stronger than KANU during the times of Kenyatta and Moi. It is deeply in the DNA of the Tanzanian.
Kind of like the ANC in
South Africa. Like the ANC in South Africa. The problem is that the people who remember the ANC and remember the Chama cha Mapinduzi are 6 feet under. The people who are there living are gone. The new children don't remember Julius Nyerere. They don't remember Oscar Kambona. They don't remember Sokoine. The person that they remember is Mrisho Kikwete. And let me say that I think that the towering political figure in Tanzania is Jakaya Kikwete Mrisho.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the most astonishing politicians to emerge on the eastern seaboard of East Africa. But his pragmatism also is his enemy. There is a culture that when there is a sitting president in Tanzania, the one who's outside doesn't say nothing.
Look, actually, I want to go back a few decades when, again, the spirit of Ujamaa, or when we say that socialism, that was pushed to a larger extent by Julius Nyerere, it went around the world. Universities in today's present day study that and as an ideology, just like they do with Karl Marx and all these other things. Julius Nyerere's socialism, Ujamaa, is studied. So there was a way in which the Tanzanian people thought, operated. Preservation of culture, very big. Now, this is what Tanzania was known for. Now, with the demise, let's hop along a few years, and with the demise of J.P. Magufuli, we then saw Samia Suluhu take on a lot of the projects that he had started, and we saw the speedboat train, and we saw that the dam is also, being. It's the building of the dam is happening, and people are starting to see that investments are coming into Tanzania. It's doing very well. Absolutely, there are some businesses who've actually closed up shop in Kenya and have moved. They're
growing at
to
6
Tanzania.
to 7%.
So here she is growing an economy and going and leaning heavily towards capitalism, and now in the same breath saying that human rights are not being, they're not being honored, they're not being kept. The imagery has now shifted and it has moved. We're already seeing yesterday that people are saying the gains on advocating for women leadership in a day. Samia Suluhu has then been able to pull back on those gains 20 years. That seems like a lot of responsibility to put on the shoulders of one person in 24 hours. That people said that there were few female presidents in Africa, whether you go to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, whether you talk about the likes of Joyce Banda, and then now she herself, and then all of that has just been clawed back on, because now once you've given them power, look at what they are doing.
They are
not looking into the fact that the economy in Tanzania has grown significantly.
They are not doing anything. It is the system, it is the state and the market under them that's doing it. It is social formations and social forces that make and remake history. Individuals are decisive at moments of crossroads in pushing history to a certain extent. Churchill did that in Europe. Hitler did it in Germany. Franco did it in Spain. FDR did it in the United States. Doesn't matter whether you agree with the politics of the person, but were they decisive people who change the trajectory of history? There's sometimes that social formations, history, and the individual come together at a crossroads and turn in a certain way. Now, I think, as I said before, I think the Chama cha Mapinduzi is an authoritarian party that has a stronghold on Tanzanian politics, and it believes it is the guardian of the Tanzanian revolution.
Okay.
It believes that if it imports the constitution, it's going to import the tribalism of Kenya. It's going to import the nepotism of Kenya. It is going to import the corruption of Kenya. And it has taken a generation, 40 years of Julius Nyerere, melding Tanzania into a nation state that doesn't have the crap that we have here today. But he failed on the economy. And the most important thing in any country is an economy. We tried to do better than them in the economy, but we really didn't reach the zenith. We in Kenya have not reached the zenith of where we should be in the economy. Tanzania fixed its social relations, and our economies are, in another 5 years, they're going to pass us economically. So they're the ones whose trajectory is good. But what Salou is doing, I think, and I've said this yesterday, and I predict it is going to change the tectonics of Tanzanian politics. Because the underlying social formations in that country are young people who have the same sentiments about young people in Kenya, young people in Uganda, young people everywhere in Africa. This youth bubble is a turning point in the political economy of our continent. And it doesn't matter whether you speak Kiswahili or you're from Igbo land. Everything is going to change. And it is now very clear to me that it is going to change even faster in Tanzania, because there's no accusations of people forming tribal groups to go and change a constitution. It is a sort of whole of society approach to change.
Well, okay, you're the prediction man, so let's look at what's been happening then a little bit further south into the Indian Ocean, where a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago or so, Rogelina, the people, largely the youth of Madagascar, said, you know what, this corruption, this lack of accountability, this mismanagement of government resources has got to stop. He decided that he was going to call on the military to get these children, as he called them, in order. The military decided, actually, you know what, we're on the side of these young children, as you call them, and they ran the man out of town.
In a day.
He took off, and the military then, essentially took over, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen as a result of that.
Yes.
This is not the first time we've heard of such. We heard a little bit of a stomach problem up in the north, Morocco and Algeria, already started to do their thing again. Is it now the psyche where people are saying, not anymore, across the continent?
That's what you're with me on social media. I predicted this Madagascar thing to the T. I said this is going to happen, how it's going to happen, and when it's going to happen. And it did. And it's not rocket science. I think everybody knows, including me, when these things start happening. It started with a woman who said there was no light in our house. I think I was on this program too, speaking about Madagascar, a few weeks before the overthrow of that government.
Yeah.
And I said exactly the same thing. I said he's going to be overthrown and he's going to run away. And he ran away. He was given a French passport.
Yes, he was.
A French plane came to pick him. And this shows you that the puppets in the continent are directly linked to these European powers and these American powers to continue the kind of exploitation that is going on in our continent. And that is why you see military coups happening all over again, like in the 1980s. because just as much as the military feels that they're the guardian of a republic, also the problem with the military is that sooner or later they turn to be authoritarian and they start doing coups inside. So I think the best form of government is a democratic government. That's what I believe.
Okay.
But in exceptions to the rule, for an example, in the Sahel, where the exploitation was so gagging that they didn't have a choice. It's the 20-year-olds and the 25-year-olds that overthrew the government and put Traore there, who's a 35-year-old. If you look at all the kids who are behind him, they didn't even have a beard. Those kids are revolutionary. They reject everything, and they refuse to accept the kind of poverty that we have. I gave you the example of Niger, and the amount of exploitation that was happening there with their minerals. I put it to you that I think that Tanzania is going to be a test case, and a lot of people disagree with me. I think the overwhelming people disagree with me. They think that Tanzania is going to continue to be authoritarian. They believe that status quo is going to happen, but I disagree with them because I think the underlying sociological factors here in Kenya, it has changed. In Uganda, it has changed. In Tanzania, it has changed. And I think the Chama cha Mapinduzi days are numbered. And there's going to be an internal fight over what happened in this election. And when that happens, you will see more factions moving to the opposition. And this will be the signal death of the Chama cha Mapinduzi. Just as I think that the ANC is in much deeper trouble, like the Chama cha Mapinduzi. And it is just a matter of time before they go the way KANU went to this in Kenya.
Okay, so now we're looking at a situation whereby there are rumblings across, and somebody somewhere is having a stomachache, and it's coming up in different parts of the continent.
Yes.
It's coming up, and people are getting more and more fed up with the status quo.
Yep.
And they've said, we are not going to take that anymore.
Yes.
And the stuff of revolution is that there will be injuries. There will be tragedies, but if you're fighting for the thing that you want to essentially achieve, then we've got to be ready for that sacrifice. Has it gotten to that level?
I don't like revolutions. I'm a capitalist.
Okay. In order for capitalism to take root,
I believe in economic transformation. I believe in parliamentary system of government. I'm a liberal, and but I am extremely sensitive and aware about the transformation that's coming.
I hear you, but you also know that the liberals in the world society, if you can look at them, the liberals operated on a system that was established and followed. Without that foundation,
we need to put the roots of parliamentary system of government, of patriots, of people who are willing to make their countries great, to make their regions great, and to make the continent great. When we look at the issue of elections, I think that if we go the way of this Big Bang theory of revolutions, I think we're going to end up in a situation where we're going to mess the country for a while, and still authoritarianism of another type will take over. I firmly believe in constitutional government. Nothing will ever take me away from that. But I am also committed to the truth. And it is very important for social democrats like me to believe in the truth and say it the way it is, and have a proper analysis of the situation in our continent. We cannot have development and we cannot move forward without a system of laws governing us. We cannot. If there was an authoritarian military government in this country today, I would not be sitting here. I'm sitting here because I have a provision of the Constitution of Kenya, which says that I have the right to speech. I have the right to assembly. I have the right to make a political party. I have a right to stand for elections. I have a right to air my views. I have a right to speak my conscience. That is what we want. That's a safeguard. That's the most important safeguard to our republic. But there is a problem now when it comes to post-colonial societies. And the problem is we need to get away from the mothership. There's a mothership here in Europe and here in the United States. And now, increasingly, another mothership has appeared here in the Asian called the China. We just simply can't have a little pipe to a fuel in the mothership, and they're taking it from us, and we're not taking anything from them. So we need to cut these dependencies that we have, because we have the resources, we have the intellectual capital, we have the land, we have all the things that are required for there to be an economic takeoff. Kids who are going to the University of Nairobi, who have a 2-bedroom apartment and are going to get a job that's $1 million shillings a month, and I can get a car, are not going to plot a revolution. They're going to plot on how to make new companies to make more money. This is very important for us to figure out.
Who are guided by the rule of law, supposedly, that you talk about. But
well,
still don't
if
seem
you're in
to follow
university, you can be a socialist. But when you come out of university and come to the real world, if you're still a socialist, you're an idiot. But in fact, that's a very strong word to use. Let me take that back. I think you're foolish.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it's not as strong as the other one. So I think that as a social democrat, the values of collective leadership, the values of an economy that serves the people, the values of an economy, of a political system that serves the people, a commitment to the environmental world movement, a commitment to parity among the genders. These are all social democratic values, but we cannot have these values without an economy. We cannot. And I think that the examples of countries in Northern Europe, like Norway and Sweden and Denmark and places like that, an example to Europe. They're not an example to us. We need to fashion our own examples. But what we need to understand is that there are basic things that this society needs. Housing, it needs medical care, it needs schools, it needs decent roads, all these things. And the state is a partner in that. A state is a partner in that in this post-colonial world. We cannot leave it only to the market.
One would imagine that those who are then in positions whereby these things can happen are very aware of what these needs are. But still, year after year, election after election, we still complain about the same things. Can you imagine how long we've been complaining about schools?
We should not complain.
Across the continent.
We should act. We should get out on the streets. We should protest.
Actually, in the 80s, there were people who were trying to cross the Mediterranean in dinghies to try and get to the to cross over towards the Strait of Gibraltar to get to Spain.
It's happening now.
In 2025, it's still happening because people are trying to run away from the sad reality.
It used to be the other way around. Europe used to run to North Africa to look for jobs. A few centuries ago, it was North Africa that sent the Enlightenment to Europe. It is the one that taught them that they're university. They're the ones who taught them about books, and they're the ones with the Umayyad Empire. It is black people like me and you from North Africa, Moors, who are the ones who brought the Enlightenment to Europe. In fact, if you look at the paintings of Europe today, you go to every painting, you'll see one black guy with a turban and a book teaching them how to read and write. The Europeans didn't used to take baths. They were taught how to take showers by Africans. It's a historical fact. The Greeks whom they keep talking about, Pythagoras' theorem, it was taught there in Kemet by Imhotep. They went to school there. So there's nothing wrong with us. What is wrong with us is the political systems and the economic systems that we're in and we're participating in, and the political leadership that we have. And once we have the political leadership that wants to transform the situations in our country to bring down these borders. Why is it that Togo and Ghana are two different countries? They speak the same language.
And Togo is a strip.
Why is that little country in Gambia not part of Senegal? Why are the Cameroonians fighting over English and French? You know, this kind of stupidity that has been brought into this continent, these kids do not want it
anymore.
And everybody has to wake up and deal with it. My kids are this Gen Zs. They call me a liberal. I'm considered very militant in this country. My kids are telling me, you're part of the problem. You. And I said, Dad, how am I part of the problem? He says, we want to bring down this establishment. I said, you can't do that. You are young. You don't know what you're doing. What you need to do is to stand up and change your country, but change it for the better. If you take a palm oil and boil it and put a kibriti on it and destroy it, you will have no country. But we are also we'd rather have no country than to let a dictatorship sprout there. You know, if you go to Somalia now, everybody is just appalled at what's happening in Kenya and Tanzania. They think we're crazy.
Somalia?
Yes, the Somalis. You ask any Somali. They say, what is wrong with you people? Can't you see what we did to our country? We burned it down. And we're refugees in your countries now. You guys and the South Sudanese, ask the South Sudanese and the Somalis. They think that even if there's a monster ruling us, that we should keep it.
Better the monster.
But the problem is that that's not acceptable. It is not morally and consciously acceptable for you as a human being created by God to be set upon by another human being and be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do. We are born, created by a creator, and we have certain inalienable rights, and among those are the right to liberty, good government, blah, blah, blah. That's just there. And it's been there since time immemorial. And the struggle now is that one. That's the struggle in this country. That's the struggle in Tanzania. That's the struggle with the Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. That is the struggle with the, look what is happening to the Sudan. The RSF today is just murdering people in this small town, in this town called Fatih, Farcha, I forget the name. Because the Sudanese army withdrew and they do not want a bloodbath there. Yeah. They're committing a genocide there. Our government, which, has relations with the RSF.
Yes.
You remember they brought them here?
Of course they did. Tried to set up a parallel government. That didn't quite work out, but okay.
Met with that murderous hoodlum. That murderous hoodlum. He met with him. And I think that if any decent African country with the military strength should have intervened in Sudan, we should have all intervened a long time ago. And generations to come are going to tell us, you did nothing to the Sudan. And you know what? They did nothing in Rwanda when they were slaughtering those Tutsis. We did nothing. Today, again, we are watching Sudan. It is, the people are angry about what's happening in Sudan, but our political leadership just doesn't know what to do about it. They just want their cozy homes here in Karen. They want their second-hand cars that they buy here from Dubai so that they can continue this nonsense we have in this country. The United Arab Emirates is funding the RSF. This little country here in the Gulf, it is causing trouble in Somalia. It is causing trouble all over this region.
And that's the thing, that here we look at conflict, here we look at funding, here we look at so many things, and there is an external hand that's played. And it seems to be the bane of the existence of many African countries today.
It's not.
DR Congo still being controlled from outside.
Africa is...
We say we are free, but we are not.
In the last part of the 20th century, there is no other history except the history of this continent fighting for its independence, fighting for its dignity, and continuing to fight against this neo-colonial experience. And it will continue to fight. Africans have been fighting for a long time, and the fight is big. And you know what? If it liberates itself, a lot of these European countries are going to crash into some kind of poverty. Mr. Trump was going to China to talk about rare earth minerals. Africa is rare earth minerals. We have every mineral. We have everything. But I think that this golden generation, these